So welcome to Thoughts on Thursday. Today we're going to be discussing mutual mentoring. And we've been going for, best part of a year now. And for me, mutual mentoring has been one of the key takeaways from the GrowthWorks network as it was in beta, if you like, and the core of what Atollo is now. The idea that actually everyone gets something out of a mentoring moment, whether that be, an exchange on a forum or a quick one-to-one discussion that may not happen again, or actually more formal mentoring that might be a regular one-to-one or joining one of our group mentoring circles. We hear that it's actually the mentors often that are enjoying it the most and learning a load about how younger people are approaching the industry, approaching their own development, thinking about things like digital tools. But of course, we want it to be something that everyone can gain from, whether you're a student, early career, mid-career, or an industry elder who has got decades of experience to share. So what we've done tonight is we've pulled together 4 mentees / mentors who I think are all at a really interesting stage of their development journeys, where most of them have spent some time with us as a community as mentees. But I think during the course of this year, are actually taking on really important mentoring roles for the next generation of people who are coming through. So I thought, who better to share some perspectives and create a bit of a debate for us around what is mentoring? Why, when you throw out that word, doesn't it appeal to everyone? But how do you connect with people that you want to get ahead in the industry, who want to build a network, who want to get new experiences? We wanted them to share their perspectives on why they've been so active and supportive, but also why now, thinking about their own careers in the next year or so, what they're going to be thinking about as they kind of flip to more of a mentor role. So hopefully just a fairly open discussion. So yeah, usual format, they'll probably take kind of 5 minutes or so each, and then it's an open kind of Q&A discussion to do whatever you want. So yeah, really excited to have Alex, Laura, Charlotte and Maria Eleanor with us. I'm going to hand over to Charlotte. They're going to do their own intros. I'm here to tell you that they're all fabulous, but they'll give a bit more information on their backgrounds, what they've done and why they're here. So Charlotte, over to you.
Okay, hi everyone. Glad to see such a great big crowd tonight. I'm just gonna open my screen just a second. That works.
All great, we can see it.
All good, you can see it? Okay, good. So yes, so for everybody that doesn't know me yet, my name is Charlotte. I work as an assistant front office manager at Weißenhaus Grand Village Resort and Spa, which is part of the Relais and Chateau community. I live in Germany, so we are located at a beautiful property at the Baltic Sea. So if you have a moment, you can always check it out on our website. And I'm here today to talk to you about the benefits that mentorship can have, and the positive things I experienced so far with mentorship and how it helped me grow and develop my career. So mentoring to me, it has always been a huge perspective. It's usually a gradual process, so which can then lead to forming long-term connections with people. So it can be in general a huge benefit for your career. So yeah, I have had very positive experiences so far with my mentors that I had, and I want to share also a few stories with you so you can picture how mentorship can help you in your early stages of your careers. So my key message to you all today is that mentorship is always a two-way road. You have to be committed, both of you. You have to communicate properly, and you have to define your expectations so you can actually make a win-win situation out of it and get the most out of it. And then it is a step out of your comfort zone at times, because I remember my first mentorship. It was quite intimidating actually, because I thought I wasn't really sure what to what to talk to my mentor about. So I'm going to just share the story with you all. I was doing my master's at Oxford Brookes in 2016, and part of my master's was a mentorship program. So I was lucky enough to get matched with the GM of the Landmark London at the time. So I thought, okay, this is a huge thing. I need to make the most out of it. And then, so I got in contact with Andrew at the time, and we were both really committed and wanted to get the most out of it. Sorry, English is not my first language. Sometimes I just need to think about it. But so yeah, we met up quite a few times, and to make the long story short, the result was that after half a year of meeting and learning from him and seeing what he was also looking for in an employee, he offered me a management program at the Landmark London, which was kind of tailored to my wants and needs, and also matched my career expectations. So this was, of course, quite a lucky move, but also something that really helped me start off my career in the hotel industry. And my number one tip to you all is how you can get the most out of mentoring is to just be cool. So just be committed, be open, be goal oriented, and just be eager to learn. Really, that's, in my opinion, the way that you can get the most out of mentorship. And then I wanted to share as well a mentoring advice that has helped me get ahead last year. So you all know we had the global pandemic hit us quite hard, and I was also unemployed for 3 months last year. That's when I actually found out about, back then, the GrowthWorks, or Otolo now. And I got into a mentoring circle with Dan, who is the GM at the Pullman Hotels Jakarta in Indonesia. And he was really positive back then when I was at a really low point of my career, where I thought there's no way that a hotel will hire me at this stage in this pandemic going on. So yeah, Dan just told me that no matter how negative a situation may seem, always stay positive and create the best possible outcome. And that really pushed me towards staying focused on my goals and not to give up on my dreams, and just stick to what I can do best. And yeah, I just kept applying, really, and I found some new strength through this mentoring circle to yeah, just go ahead and not to give up on what I really love doing. So yeah, I hope this gives you a little insight into my perspective on mentorship. I'm really glad to see you all here, and if you have any questions, just drop it into the chat or ask me in a private message, or yeah, just pop in your questions whenever you feel like.
Very cool. Thank you. Charlotte, who do you want to pass to next? The honor is yours.
Yeah, I can pass on to Alex.
Nice one. Thank you. That was
Perfect.
really genuine.
Wonderful.
Go for Alex.
Thank you, Charlotte. That was very interesting. I'm just going to share my screen with all of you. So to quickly introduce myself, I am half Swedish, half Malaysian. I'm currently the front office manager at Nobu. I've worked across the US, a little bit in China, Abu Dhabi, Qatar, and now London. Can you guys see my screen? Is that working up there?
Yeah, we got it.
Perfect. So I'm going to dive right in. The first slide, I'm going to share a little bit about what I've learned about mentoring, and then I'm going to talk about a story about what I've learned from mentoring, one of my experiences. So when I've brought up the topic of mentorship to fresh graduates, I'm often met with uncertainty to how this concept really works. So what I explain is that all of us have had mentors before, whether we realize it or not. our parents when we're growing up to teach us the difference between right and wrong, morals, teachers in school to educate us on history or mathematics, but work, which is the third chapter of our lives, I feel that it's often neglected when it comes to mentorship. This understandably leaves us feeling a little lost, at least it did for me. And I think because the first two roles are quite well defined, but the thing is managers are not always leaders, which is where, in my opinion, there may be gaps. I'd love to hear your input about that perhaps later in the Q&A. So when I was a fresh graduate, my network was so limited, I didn't have access to a large selection of individuals that I would refer to as role models. So I would search for general managers on LinkedIn to study their career path. And this ultimately gave me quite a superficial perspective about what they've accomplished and certainly not the how factor. So I realized that finding a mentor outside of my direct work environment could really open up an entire universe of fresh perspective, more or less. So when I joined Othello, I was introduced to so many senior professionals and executives who have such a wealth of experience that wasn't available to me. And that really broadened my industry, my understanding of the industry. So the second point, and one of the things I love about mentoring, is you're able to really learn from the success of others. And sure, it's important to learn from our own mistakes, but I feel that learning about the success of others allows us to envision what we could achieve and to even prevent certain errors through trial. So I made it a point not to look for decisions to be made for me, but rather use my mentor's advice as a template or framework to really guide me. At least it's important for me to make sure that I grow into a stronger version of myself rather than someone else, because I don't want to lose the qualities that makes me unique. A good example of learning from the success of others, which I can actually refer to in Othello, is one of my most recent mentors, Mr. Mirko Yada. He's currently opening a beautiful hotel in Qatar. And during our last discussion, he was telling me about his hiring process of the executive team, his owner relations, and being someone who's opened a couple of hotels in Poland and United Arab Emirates. I was fascinated because I never had this up close and personal kind of network before where I can really get ahead. So next time I'm opening my hotel, and I hopefully would have the role of a general manager, I can call Mirko up and say, Mirko, you've been through this before. Do you have any tips for me? And that way I can learn from the success of others without having failed at multiple attempts myself. So there's really value in that. Thirdly, my last point for this slide would be really simple. You get what you give. So when looking for personal answers, a lot of the time, I feel that we hold the key inside of ourselves. We just need someone else to unlock it, but we have to be honest with ourselves and our mentors in order to get there. I've been fortunate enough to have mentors who I can really trust and who I can be really open with. And I've also had mentors who truly listen and are open to evolving ideas with a type of inquisitiveness. So this is where the term mutual mentorship really plays an important role, because in such instances, the wonderful thing about the art of mentorship is that the mentor often finds themselves in the role of a mentee. So the learning is really, the pendulum swings both ways. So that's my three main points for what I've learned about mentoring. I'd like to just move over to the next slide. Is that working? Perfect, there's my next slide. So I'm gonna share a story about a lesson I've learned from a previous mentor of mine. Since I first started my career, I've always been very ambitious, thinking about timelines of how I wanted to grow, thinking about what title I'll be at what age. I had it all planned out. I'm sure many of you can relate. I thought I had it all planned out. So I'm having lunch with my GM and I tell her of my plans. I have stars in my eyes. I'm speaking with such conviction. And she looked at me and she said, Alex, my advice to you would be to be patient and ensure you spend time perfecting the tasks at hand before thinking of the next. So essentially, this allowed me to shift my mentality from future to present. And instead of focusing on an altered perception of growth, which was for me about positions or titles, I took that same energy and I spent it on how to be the best at my job that I could be in the present. So how am I supposed to be the professional that I want to be in the future if I'm not prioritizing making the best of myself now? So do I want to be an inexperienced GM who lacks confidence, or do I want to be a seasoned rock star? So with patience and self-development, stronger opportunities will arise. So after reflecting on this, I thought I will absolutely not take the easiest and shortest path to becoming a GM. I will approach projects that challenge me and force me to grow. And evolving from this and transcending into a more personal aspect, I've applied this to my personal life as well, where how can I be the best person I can be when it comes to fitness and health, about qualities, about who we really are. And I think that many of you working in hospitality, you'll realize that you can't really separate who you are professionally and personally. Those who work in hospitality, I'm pretty sure you're the ones who are holding the door open for people. You're going to stand up subconsciously when someone else walks into the tube to offer your seat. This is who we are. And when this really settles in, I just feel that mutual mentorship is really a case where you're not always mentoring the professional side of work, but also personal values as well, like we talked about with teachers or parents. So that's my lesson that I've learned. And those are some points that I think are important. And I'd love to hear your input later in the Q&A and to get the discussion going. Really happy to be here. If I may yield the floor now to Laura, if you'd like to take the reins.
Sure, thank you so much. That was super interesting, Alexander. Let me just share my screen as well. Just a moment. There we go. Everyone see that?
Yep.
Yeah, perfect. So I'm Laura. I'm from Finland, based in Helsinki right now. I've just returned with the pandemic from the United States. I was doing an incredible management training with Rosewood Hotels and Resorts and Rooms Division. And prior to that, I was a master's student at Glion in Switzerland. And prior to that, I had a business bachelor degree in the UK. So I followed a path towards hospitality and still on that path with this blip of a pandemic, as we all are. And really, it started from asking Glion what career guidance do they have, what kind of help do they have for this time, and they directed me to the GrowthWorks last year, which brought me to what today is Otolo. So I've been a mentee since last spring, and honestly, it has been the best experience. Something, yeah, I couldn't recommend more. And so what I want to get out of mutual mentoring really is guidance for my career direction, finding out about the different positions there are in hospitality, understanding the structure. We go to hospitality school, but really pulling apart those positions, pulling apart what's possible, and facing the innovation that has got to happen with the pandemic. I'm sure that a lot of normal traditional positions are going to be eliminated. Things are changing, so I just want to keep my mind open and keep that communication flowing of where I could be going. And the second point is I am learning a ton about professionalism. I'm keeping my professional representation afloat. It's giving me confidence, even just speaking with professionals in the industry and having them listen to me and my concerns. And then of course communication skills, just being able to connect from these remote locations virtually, and keeping those up since we are lacking all of the social connections. So I can't think of a better way to keep that up by connecting with the industry and giving me that sense of community and something to strive towards. And as many of as Charlotte and Alex as well touched upon, what can you get the most out of mutual mentoring? Yeah, coming prepared. That said, I wasn't prepared the first time I had my session with Matthew and Miosh. I honestly had no idea what to say. I was so doom and gloom by the pandemic. It seemed like the world was ending. And I was in my cabin in the middle of the woods in Finland. And he said, "It's okay. I've been camping in France. We're all good." um, and he just kind of maybe then talk more on that session than I did, so that I could just absorb, and then step by step I could kind of come out of my shell and start throwing around some ideas that he would respond to. So come prepared if you can. If you can't, at least look at their LinkedIn profile, find out everything you can about your mentor so that you can be genuinely interested, and show up with some nice questions, see where your connection points are, whether it's to do with your hobbies or camping, or whether it's to do with the hotel that your mentor may have been working at, or if not hotel, the festival or the airline or whatever it is. And stay curious. I was listening to a podcast with Naveen Jain in it, and he was saying the key thing with success is being curious, and also that there are no borders to there's no crazy questions, we all know that, but really there are no crazy questions, especially during this pandemic. And share and value your experiences. I think this has been amazing, that I feel valued and I feel like I have experience, even though I have 1 year management training in my bag, and before that a couple of experiences here and there. I still feel like I have something to give to my mentor, whether it's life experience from 27 years or from my professional experiences. So giving that and feeling valued and feeling like you have something to give. And yeah, key message. It's been the number one reason for staying afloat this past year, finding my way, and mentoring is possible at any stage, whether you think you don't know where to start or what to ask. It's open for everybody, and I would love to connect with anybody on LinkedIn or Othello, and can't wait to meet you. And we finally have our beautiful Maria in Italy waiting for us. So I will.
Well, thank you for the introduction. So hello, everyone. I hope I will be able to say something more interesting, or as interesting as, not, I wouldn't say more interesting, but as interesting as my colleagues. I know many things have been said. Okay, so let me share my screen. Okay. Okay, can you see it?
You got it. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So my name is Maria Elena. I'm from Italy, and I've been on Othello and on the Growth Work Networks from 6 months. I've been able to connect with 6 different mentors coming from different backgrounds, and also helping peers, around 4 different peers during this whole journey. I also joined 2 different circles, one of which was this morning on the incredible innovation circle of Martin. If you have a chance, join, because it's great. So basically my career starts in Glion. I studied there for years, and after that I've been working in and out of hotels in different departments, starting in F&B, moving to events, marketing, a little bit of HR, and then finally in rooms. In hotels, big chain hotels like Four Seasons, and smaller boutique hotels like the fashion brand Salvatore Ferragamo, startups, winery in Napa Valley, California, and also the South African Parliament. So for me, Othello has been, genuinely, it's been a gift, because I was in a very hard moment of my life when the pandemic started. I was made redundant, like many of us. And I was looking for guidance. I was very demotivated. And for me, Othello has meant guidance. It's meant being able to express all my weaknesses, not to express what I'm good at, because that I know more or less, but weaknesses, to have someone there that is an expert in this field, and be able to really touch on what I have to ameliorate. For me, it's a great opportunity, because when you're in a university, you don't really get to talk to people that are incredible experts, have so many years of experiences in an informal way. And so that was really, really a gift. For me, mentorship, I understood what mentorship was on Thoughts of Thursday when one of my mentors, which is Estelle, she was talking about her experience as a mentor. So basically, she was was the manager of this person for years and years and years, and he was in front office. And then at a certain point, she called him and she said, "Well, actually, you're not progressing, because maybe you should look into back of office." And basically, his career just boomed. So number one tip for me is to be honest. Don't be shy. I know it's hard to not be shy most of the times, but be your genuine self, because it's like when you go to the doctor. If you want the support, the actual support, you want the people to understand who you are, where you're going. I've been in roles that I was miserable. They were important roles, nice roles, and whatever, but I was miserable because I didn't like them. So to be happy, you need someone to really understand you. Plus, you're not at school, so no one's going to give you a grade. You're not in university, and you're not looking for mentors. They're not going to give you a job, basically, or they're going to promote you. So you can be really yourself and get the best out of it. I've also been a community shareholder for this platform, so basically helping on the platform to make it more interactive and create content. And when I started, I was very shy. I didn't know what I had to put into it, what I could give back. And actually, it's been a really, really great experience. So don't be afraid to share your thoughts. Even if you feel stupid, it's okay. You can still progress. So number one experience that helped me, like number one experience that helped me through this journey through these 6 months, have been a lot, but the number one has been an example. So I was contacted for this job, and the first thing I did once I talked to this lady, I called Estelle and I asked her, "Can you give 5 minutes of your time to talk about it?" And basically, I was thinking about, I don't know what, but so many things that weren't really concentrated on my career growth. And in 3 seconds, she was able to frame it, and I really felt like someone had my back. I knew what I had to do, and if it didn't work, I knew what I could do in the future to be better. So yeah, this is basically my experience. I hope it helps someone and I didn't bore you too much. Thank you.
Not at all. Fantastic. Thank you, Maria Elena. Thank you, all of you, for some fantastic thoughts. It felt like a really long advert for Atollo, which is great, but that's not our intent at all. So I think a couple of takeaways there from me. I think, and I absolutely love it. I love the points about fresh perspective, just having this kind of group of industry mentors. It's fantastic. So many of you are serial mentees. It's kind of, multiple touch points over the last year, depending on what you need at any one time, or just what spiked your interest. I see you guys are massively promoting Martin's Innovation and Coffee Group, which is fab. Like, it's an absolute free for all of just, even if you don't work in that space, there's some things like innovation, sustainability, women in leadership. These are kind of evergreen topics that we really should all be more aware of, even if we know, we're chasing that path to GM or working in front office or whatever it may be. But love everything you've said. Really authentic around just kind of being about telling stories and sharing ideas, getting some guidance and support, which is fab. So I think for me, again, those of you that have seen Atollo, hopefully this will be obvious by now. The idea is that it is a place for self-discovery. And I think one thing that we want to do a better job of communicating is that you should all feel like you can drop anyone a note. And hopefully everyone in the room here would feel like, actually, if someone here dropped me a note and said, could you just share your story? Could you just we exchange a few ideas about where you work or what you're working on? Hopefully everyone feels like you'd respect each other's time and give each other 30 minutes for a virtual meetup. And I think what I love is that could evolve into mentoring, or it could have just stay as a one-off. And of course, we have these mentoring circles, if you haven't seen them, covering marketing, commercial, ops, innovation, as well as 40 odd members who would love to hear from all or any of you. So I think one of the things I'd love to discuss as we kind of chat for the next 30 minutes or so is, how do we break down that barrier? How do we build that confidence and create that safe space that we can all be as proactive as the four of you have been, and actually reach out to people at a time of need, or even just at a time of curiosity, as I think you made the point, Laura, which I thought was fab. So we've got a few questions pouring in, which is fab. Kat, you've got a very good all-round question here, so I feel like you should shoot first. Do you want to go ahead and ask?
Absolutely. So thanks so much, guys. I've been a part of Atolo for a good few months now, when it was formerly the GrowthWorks as well. So I've seen your names and been able to interact with you guys for a really long time. So I'm really happy to see you guys on this side of the screen doing the presentation. It's really exciting to see. My question was for each of you, and I'll just decide who I pick first, then you can nominate after that to make it go quicker. It's kind of a two-part question. So which mentor or leader that you've worked with or had mentor you that has been the biggest influence on your career? And the second part of the question is, why specifically do you feel they were that big influence on you? Was it what they taught you, how they made you feel, or what about it brings them to your mind? So as I've been talking to Charlotte recently, I'm going to throw her in there first.
Thanks, Kat. I love your background.
Thank you very much.
Well, I guess the biggest influence so far was my mentor from the Landmark London. I've spent 2 years at the Landmark London, and he really told me, because I have really high, Andrew always told me that it is extremely important to get experience in all departments of the hotel, ideally. So that's why then he tailor-made this management program for me. So I could experience, almost all departments basically at the Landmark Hotel. So that was one of the biggest influences for my career, because I know how valuable it is to know what housekeeping has to do, or even what a night shift has to do, or literally any employee in the hotel. So one day when I will be a manager, I know what respect I have to pay to my employees. And the second question was,
I think you kind of answered it. It was just why.
I think I did, yeah.
Yeah, why he was a big influence for you. So that's great.
Yes, yeah, okay. I can pass on to Alex again.
Great. Kat, that's a really good question. It's a little bit difficult for me because I've been really lucky to have a lot of good mentors. When I start applying for jobs and I go through the interview process, I'm very aware and conscious about who's interviewing me, what questions they're asking me, and how the culture or environment in the workplace is. I know that, of course, during these times, the current climate of the work environments are a little bit difficult, so people don't have a lot of choice. But I've been really lucky to have, if I had to choose one, I would say my manager from Grand Hyatt in Abu Dhabi. And it's weird because when I think of a reason why he was so important to me, it's hard to really pinpoint. But I think what I admired about him the most was that he was very genuine, and he showed a lot of empathy to his team and his guests alike. He was so effortlessly professional, if that kind of makes sense. Everything he did was so natural, so caring, and there was nothing fake about it. And I looked up to that. So I studied, kind of who he was and how he handled situations. And I think that having him as a role model in such a crucial point in my career really did me wonders. And I think that's why it's just so important to have a mentor, to have someone you can look up to, because that really shapes who you are at a very pivotal time when your career could be changing in all kinds of directions. So I would probably say him, Mr. Ashutosh Jha. And that was an opening as well. So you can imagine it was quite crazy, but it was really interesting. And I hope that answered your question. So Laura, if you'd like to take over again.
Yeah, I had another story. So I'll have to say two now, because you inspired me to share the first one. So when I first arrived for my management training in California with Rosewood, I sat down for the first meeting with my manager / mentor. And honestly, her whole 30 minutes, I just wanted to record it, write it down, just write everything. And I went back home and I thought to myself, I've learned so much already. I can just fly back to Finland now. Like, this is a year's worth of wisdom. And she was exactly the same. She had this beautiful elegance to her. She'd go around like in the front office to speak to everybody when she arrived to work. I mean, that is a etiquette as well, to come and say hello and make sure everyone's okay. But yeah, it's very similar personality, and I was very much inspired by that. And then the answer to Kat's question, the story I had was definitely the first call with Mathieu. I think with Atolo, he done a master's thesis project, and he asked me what did I enjoy most whilst doing my project research. Did I like doing the research, interviewing for my data, interviewing everyone in the hotel, having that interaction, gathering the data, or whether it was the data analysis part that I really enjoyed, and then looking at the bigger picture and the conclusion and the results. And that's a really hard question for me, because I have my business background as well as my hospitality operations, and he was kind of saying, do you want to focus on the business, or do you want to be with the people and operations? And so that was food for thought that I'm still figuring out for the whole year, but it's really interesting. Just the questions that mentors can come up with to really try to shift your perspective.
Cool, thanks. And Mariella?
All right, so my example is always related to Otolo. When it was the Growth Works. So basically, it was my first one-to-one mentorship, and I wasn't really aware of what mentorship was before that, even if I've worked in the industry. So I had a mentorship session with Angelo Vassallo, and I remember that I was so frustrated. I've always been such a perfectionist. I always wanted to get to a certain level, and to that level in certain years, like Alex was saying, and it wasn't happening for me. So I was so frustrated that I basically didn't really start crying, but I was on the point of crying. And it never happened to me because, of course, in the industry, you always have to be perfect or try to be perfect. And you wouldn't do it with a manager normally at work. And he was so welcoming. And I really understood that it's okay to go step by step. It's okay to take tiny steps. It's fine. You don't have to be demotivated, but not take action. So yeah, it was a really great career change for me.
Very cool. Very cool. I suppose a question I've been asked is what made you realize that mentoring was going to be helpful? And actually, it's a question I've got, because I know that, we weirdly we find it easier to find mentors than we find mentees. When we kind of say, hey, we have a mentoring platform, we have a space where people want to give up their time for mentoring, we don't get rushes of hundreds of young people coming in thinking that's what I need. So we'd love to try and untap that. What was it that made you realize that mentoring might be useful for you, both in COVID and I guess as you kind of thinking about the year coming up? Don't feel like you all have to answer, but feel free, anyone, to shoot.
On my side, I think that many younger people, they think that it's not maybe that beneficial because they're still at school. So when you're at school, you have the career office, you have your teachers, you have some of your peers that have gone and done different experiences. When you're out of work, you just have, still your friends, but you have your mentors at work, and they're not always genuinely prone to help you. That's what I feel. So yeah, for me, it was an incredible experience because it doesn't happen every day that you get to speak to such high experts, and they want to give their time away. So that was what led me to it.
Very cool. Anyone else got a thought?
Well, James, I think this brings me back to one of my points where in work environments, there's such a large gap between junior employees and executive management. And it's almost not really almost accepted for there to be a close type of relationship where you can be transparent, because you may think that perhaps your manager would look down upon you for not knowing something. So you can't really be honest. And if honesty is not there, mentorship won't really work. And there's so many professionals in the industry who are available. And if you really think about that and absorb that, the level in which you can grow and absorb new knowledge is really endless. But I think the concept of being a mentor sounds really cool and everyone wants to be a mentor. But people forget that there's so much you can take in as a mentee as well. But maybe it has like a negative stigma to be a mentee where you feel like, oh, and people like, I'm a millennial and we like to think we know it all sometimes, but the matter of fact is we don't. So sometimes to, take your pride away, to say, you know what, there's a lot I can learn. That's going to help you so much in your career as a person, and really open a lot of doors for you.
I like that. Thank you. Another question that's just come in to me privately. What do you think would be the benefits of mentoring for people who still are in a university or in hotel school? So where maybe you do have those other services. Why might you suggest someone still throw themselves into Atollo and get some mentoring? Charlotte, I can ask you that one.
I can answer that one. I mean, I had that experience myself that I was still at uni, and then I got really thrown into mentorship because that was part of my master's program. So yeah, it can help you so much to find your way. Maybe you're not sure yet what you want to do or which direction you want to go to. Like that happened to me. I didn't know that front office was the area that I liked the most. So first I had to find out, and I had to find a way to see what department is going to be my favorite and where do I want to end up in the hotel and what is actually my my career goal, like what do I want to be. And yeah, mentorship has really helped me figure that out. So yeah, I think if you are in uni, just take that chance to get to know some other hotel industry professionals, and maybe you, I mean, it doesn't have to be that you get offered a job right away. I got really lucky in that perspective, but it can just be that you need somebody to push you into the right direction, or maybe just have a listening ear to your thoughts and or give you food for thought. So yeah, it can have so many benefits. So yeah, I would highly recommend for university students to join us.
I've got lots of private questions here, but I'm wondering, feel free if someone wants to ask a public question. Emily, I see you've got one, fab. I'll come back to the private ones a bit. Emily, do you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Do you prefer the mentoring circles, or do you prefer the one-to-one mentoring opportunities you get?
Can I answer? I think they're equally as important. I love joining the mentoring group because we can learn from our peers, and so they're equally important. I've been trying to do both at the same time. It's a lot of time, but I feel that I need the support at the moment. So whilst having that one-to-one, I can hone on the questions I have, but then on the group I just get to broaden my perspectives and my ideas. And we just, the conversation we had this morning was so wonderful with Maria. I learned so much. So really just having more people, the merrier.
Yeah, no, definitely agree with that. Anyone else want to share a perspective? So kind of one-to-one versus group mentoring. Any thoughts on pros and cons?
I actually think that's a great question. And one of the reasons why I think they're both beneficial, as Laura mentioned, is because when we have a group, we have more perspectives. Anuja's here actually, who was in one of my previous mentorship groups with Mirko. And Mirko was in Saudi Arabia and Dubai at the time. Anuja was in India, and I was in London. So to share what was happening throughout the pandemic, updates about different precautionary measures, how hotels are operating, we're able to keep up to date from different parts of the world. And that even inspired us to perhaps make changes where we were based off of other ideas. And then of course, if you have personal, more direct issues that maybe wouldn't concern the other mentees in the group, you can just shoot your mentor a message and say, hey, can we have a phone call real quick? I want to run something by you. Maybe it's something specific to hotel openings. So yeah, they both definitely really beneficial, and more the merrier, as Laura mentioned.
More the merrier. There you go. Anyone else want to have a perspective, or should we move on? We'll
Well,
move
I'd
on.
say that as we were talking about networking, like the more people you meet, the more ideas you get. And also, if you're a little bit shy, it helps a lot because you meet so many different people with different ideas. So it's all about building a rapport, because then you build that rapport with the people in your circle, and you build a rapport with one single person that can become your mentor. Let's put it that way. So definitely go with both.
Pretty cool. All right, so I've got two private questions here, so I'm going to wrap them up into one so that we can keep talking. And guys, if you still got time for a few more questions, so do just drop them in the chat. If you make it a public one, I'll come to you. Someone's asked a question of, what are your thoughts on the duration of a successful relationship, a mentoring relationship? So in your sense, what length of time works? And linked to that, and Anuja is blaming her sore throat, but I'm sure you'll speak up next week, Anuja. Anuja asked, how do you identify if a mentor's working for you? So I suppose the flip side is, what if it isn't, right? Any thoughts on kind of duration and how you're thinking about whether this is working and helping you? Charlotte, I see you on mute.
Yeah. Well, I think ideally it shouldn't be shorter than 6 months. At least that was the case for me, because that way you can, I mean, you shouldn't meet up. You're probably not going to meet up with a mentor like every single week, because that mentor might also have a job and other things to do. But if you can manage to meet up like once a month, or even if you're really ambitious, try and meet up like every 2 or 3 weeks, then I think 6 months is a good time to get to know the mentor and also learn enough from that person. So yeah, that would be my advice.
For me, there's no duration. Sorry, Alex.
No, after you, ladies first.
I was saying, for me, there's no real duration. It's until it helps you. You can say it's a month, 2 months, 3 months, until you feel like it's helpful to you. They're there to help, so.
I think that what you don't want to find yourself in a situation is where you feel forced to attend a mentorship session, because if both parties aren't fully committed, then it's just not going to work out. So from my perspective, how it works for me is, I feel that a shorter commitment at one time would be beneficial. There's a lot of things that change over the course of a year in our lives, whether we choose to take on an extra course, we have a hobby, work gets really busy. But the most important thing, I think, despite how long it goes on for, is that when you do show up or you do make a commitment, you follow through with it. So I guess it really depends. For some people, some mentors may prefer to have longer lasting ones to really see their mentees build and develop. But I think it's really different for some people. You have to really find out what works for you and what doesn't.
Very cool. Laura?
Yeah, and find the mentor. I mean, it's kind of like dating. You need to find the one. So it might take a few goes. So be patient.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's very true. That's very true. Claire, do you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Yeah, I'm just interested, your thoughts in terms of, do you prefer to seek out a mentor yourself, or would you prefer the help and support of somebody who knows you to use their contacts to help you match up with a mentor? I mean, I teach our events management degree at the University of Northampton, and we've sort of done it very formally in terms of matching our students with our contacts in industry, and that's very much in terms of me knowing the individuals and, you know, those personalities and if it'll work well. But I'm just interested in terms of your experiences and your views. Do you have a preference?
I'll take it if I can. So for me, matches never worked, really. Not even in university. When they matched me up with someone else, it never clicked. I don't know why. And I'm not a difficult person, to be honest. I prefer choosing my own mentor, because that is also a learning experience for me. It's being proactive. It's taking the time to go through the the profile of that single person and really try to connect to that person and then see if it works or not. But yeah, definitely, I don't like matches. I don't think it's super beneficial.
I can add on to that. I think matches can go right or wrong. Like for me, my university matched me with a really good one and we had a click and it was working out just fine. But I also had a lot of other friends at uni that didn't have that experience. So I think if I would speak now for my current situation, I would always go and choose my own mentor because I would know what to look for. What am I looking for? What do I want to know more about? So I would always go ahead and like identify that person that might be able to help me with my questions.
Very cool. Very cool. And I suppose how do you, if you're reaching out yourself, how do you find the confidence to reach out to someone? Because we've obviously formed a Tolo the way we have. Anyone can just click send a message, right? It's a bright button. But we also notice that not everyone does, and there's a lot of low confidence at the moment, right? So how do you, on those days when maybe you're not feeling so brightly, how do you find the confidence just to think, I'm just going to drop someone a message? Is it something about the message that just helps you think, no harm done? We'd love to get your perspective for those people who haven't given it a try.
I can just say that yeah, I mean, obviously think about what you're going to write, like write a few sentences at least, explaining what you're looking, what look at what the points of connection might be. It doesn't have to be a very long note to get something started at least. So just be brave and take that leap. Yeah, it's uncomfortable, obviously, going out of your comfort zone, but got to do it to get forward.
Cool.
And then also there's like an analogy that like you're on a forest path of like something very uncertain, but once that uncertainty becomes certain, it's like a motorway, a highway, and then once you're on that mentoring call, you started the conversation, you're on the highway, you'll get there. Just got to trust the process.
I agree with Laura. What I try to preach to my teams day in, day out is that confidence is key. And I think of course, there are a lot of people who just don't have the confidence, especially in these times, but you have to start somewhere. You really have to try to grow it, and it's going to pass on, to the way you act with your colleagues, with even guests for those working in hotels or in different hospitality sectors. Confidence is really key. And you'll never know if you don't try. You have to put the doubts a little, just, under the rug for just a moment and see what happens. There was a quote I read the other day. I wouldn't be able to tell you off the top of my head, but it was, you'll never know all the opportunities you missed just from being shy or from being scared. Countless, endless. So yeah, I would say just build it up slowly, day by day.
Very cool. Very cool. And one thing I thought it might be useful to do, you're going to forgive me for it, I actually just want to show you the platform, if for those of you that haven't seen it for a few days or hours. But there's three things I want to show you. One is that we have these community groups. So if you click on groups and click on community, we've created 8 groups here that anyone can dip in and out of. And the idea is these groups are used to just connect and create little mentoring moments. So you can see what other people are saying, what other people are up to. But these are designed to be, where you just go and share your interests. It could be elevating women, could be hotel ops, could be F&B, obviously could be events. Would love more people to join these, share articles they've read, and just share perspectives, because I think what everyone's saying is mentoring comes a bit from credibility and connection. So you just by meeting people, I think it'd be really interesting to see, if that creates more mentoring moments and builds a little bit of confidence for people. The other area of the platform that hopefully you've discovered is Meet People. And you can use, there's now 500 people on the platform. And with these filters, you can actually think, look, actually, I could just select something I want to know a little bit more about, right? So if you want to know a little bit more about front office, 17 people, in fact, that's probably not the right way to do it. If you want to meet someone who knows a lot about front office, that's probably a better idea, James. There's 46 people who say they know about working in a hotel front office. I bet 46 of these people would be more than happy to get a quick email from you, just, hey, I'm working in the front office, or my plan is to work in the front office. Can we grab half an hour to talk about it? We've tried to make it absolutely as easy as possible. And you can literally, Anuja, I'm obviously going to pick on you, and you can literally just click and press send a message, and then you can just ping Anuja straight away. And that's how easy it is to get started. Yeah.
Really quick. I don't think I'm seeing the right screen. You're still on the commercial page.
Oh no, is that
just if you stop sharing and share again, it might work.
Okay,
sorry to interrupt. I just thought you'd probably want to actually show what you're talking about.
Yeah. Curse Zoom. Yeah, so absolutely. So yeah, for those of you that weren't on this, you can go to meet people, you go to filters, and you just go to the bottom, and you can just click on things. If you can find people who know a lot about stuff, right? So you saw I picked front office, but I could equally just pick F&B. 42 people have said they know about F&B. Is that working for everyone? And then at any one point, you can just give them a little click, and you can just drop them a note, find out where they are in the world. And then the last piece is mentoring itself. So we've vetted about 40 mentors now, where we've met them all personally. Coming out next week, they're all going to get training guides, but they're all committed to their learning journey. Many of you know, well, let's do Martin. Many of you know Martin, but these people have basically said, look, this is what they know about, this is who they are. You can just drop them a message at any time and say, look, I'd love to get a one-on-one and see if there's a connection, see if there's chemistry, see if we get on. And then perhaps do you run a mentoring circle? And just so you know, over the next week, we're going to be kicking off several new mentoring circles. So it's not like you're joining a club that other people are in the gang. We're going to start lots and lots from fresh. So if you've expressed an interest in something, feel free to drop me or one of the team a note and just say, I'd love to start a mentoring circle. I'd love to join a mentoring circle. Or even more importantly, drop the mentors a note and say, I'd love to grab a quick connection and share a few ideas. And are you thinking of starting a mentoring circle or group? Because I'd love to join it. So I'm going to set you all that little bit of homework, if that's okay. Make one connection on the platform this week. Try and have one virtual meetup or contact a mentor, because it's only going to work if we all take the kind of confidence and lessons and learnings from our 4 amazing speakers today. So that's my top tip. We're going to finish with, can I just do a quick round robin of everyone in the order that you spoke? What's your kind of top tip to get started with mentoring? What's the one thing that you wish you'd done a year ago, or are excited about doing next? Charlotte, I'll start with you. We can just go in the order we spoke.
Right. My number one tip would be literally just go for it. Don't be scared. Just go for it. Just write that message. And even if you don't really know what the exact thing is you want to get out of it, just maybe write it broader, or just write something. And I'm sure the mentor that you're reaching out to can be acting like a coach, or guide you into the right direction.
I would say, honestly, just use the resources around you, whether it's in the workplace or whether it's online. Take a second to, look around and think, who around me has the kind of experience that I would like to have in the future, or has solved this problem before. To use the resources around you. That's what I would say.
I'd say be open-minded and curious. Everybody has something to give, every single one of us here. So whoever it is that you want to connect with, you will for sure learn something.
It's hard now, but I would say don't be afraid. You will never seem stupid, so go for it, like my colleagues have said.
Perfect. No, that sounds great. And I'll finish on Anuja's word. Anuja, you need to come up and speak again sometime when your throat's better. But she's just saying, look, I think the other thing is that people are expecting this and people are hoping for it, right? People have offered up their time and they would love to hear from you. That's the thing I think that we can't forget. It's not like LinkedIn where you're like, oh, am I supposed to be contacting that person? We don't have first, second, or third connections here. We're just here for each other. And you haven't signed up. No one's signed up to Atollo and isn't going to take your call. And that's what's different. I don't think we've ever had that in the industry before. And that's probably why people are feeling a bit shy. But hopefully we've had 4 fabulous speakers, but hopefully you feel like we've had 4 really human and authentic speakers as well, that, none of you are superhuman. We're all just on this journey together. We've all had a hell of a year, right? Whether we've been studying, whether we've been thrown out of work, had to find new jobs, move across the world, struggle with family stuff. it's been a hell of a year, guys, but like, we are genuinely here for each other. And I want to thank all of you for the time you give to the platform. It's just lovely to see something come together. We've gone to 500 people in a month, more than I would ever have imagined. But 300 million people in the world work in hospitality, so we've got a long way to go. So thank you all. Enjoy connecting on the platform. I definitely think you should drop a message to each of these 4 speakers at some point and grab them for a coffee or say thanks. And obviously a big thank you from me. We'll catch you all next week. We've got a really great session on mental health, and we've got some fun videos around it that we've made from our guest speakers already. So we're going to get those out on social. So please like them. And please continue to contribute, attend events, speak up, and tell us what's working and what we can do better. We'll catch you all next week. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, speakers.